on the bass, it sounds quite attacky, and I want to try to get rid of that in favor of more overall presence, punch, especially on the lower frequency. So I can begin by just soloing the very low frequencies and trying to see which range I want them to include. So I think up to 150 or something like that, 130 maybe. So that would be my foundation. So I can just listen to that and start bringing those frequencies. Now here I'm gonna have a lot of the fret noise. So I'm gonna try to keep that quite low and bring the direct level up. So already that, if we compare it to the original, it's a little bit too quiet maybe, so I can just grab the faders I used and bring them up together. So it's already a much bigger sound, much softer and rounder. I can try to bring in the rest of the frequencies. I don't need the highs at all here. And don't worry about clipping, because you can always bring the output level down and bring it up on the fader. Especially in 32-bit floating point processing, it won't matter. What I can do now is try to distort it a bit. So let's bring the output down. So that's not really doing it for me. But what I can do is I can just bring everything up. So it's on a steady state of distortion, which is then much more controlled. And maybe bring the punch down so it's more consistent. So that's a very interesting kind of distorted bass, which can, within the context of a track in a mix, can work really, really well. So I have this power guitar playing, and I want to make it tighter and not so MIDI. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring the direct level right down and start listening to the enhanced frequency ranges. And then I can just bring down the high mid. Now this may be too wide, so I'm just going to narrow this frequency range, and I can play with a stereo image of this range. So I'm making it wider to compensate for the gain change. And then I'm going to emphasize the low mid, maybe a little lower. So between 150 and 250, something like that. And then I can really make it wider. The low frequencies I can really bring down a bit, and also I don't need them to be stereo at all, it's just rumble. Then a little bit of the direct, I don't think it's needed here. So this is the original. So now I'm a bit quieter, so I can just bring all the bands up together. So it's much wider, much fuller, and not so emphasizing on the high mid range. So on this picking guitar part, I want to really try to crank it and compress it. It sounds a bit kind of nice at the moment. So I'm going to bring the output level right down and bring the input level up all the way. Then I instantly added a bit of crunch to the sound, but it's too punchy. So I'm going to bring the punch right down. So now it's kind of very tamed, very compressed, and I can start playing with different frequencies. Make it a bit brighter, more present, a bit more top. Actually, I want to give it some more low end. Just a bit. Mono that. Usually there's not a lot of position reference in the low frequencies. I can make the mid-range a bit wider in order to allow for other instruments in the mix to sit in the center. Bypass. So it's a bit loud, I can just bring it all down a bit. So we have a much more focused guitar sound basically. On this acoustic guitar track, I can decide whether I want to rebuild the frequencies using the enhanced frequency bands, basically, or whether I want to mix them with the direct signal. So if I'm starting with the direct signal, I can just choose which frequencies I want to enhance, or I can just bring that down altogether, bring up the exciter bands, and then balance, so I can emphasize specific band ranges, and with the stereo image I can just decide which frequency range I want to make wider. So for instance, in this case I want to take the low mid range and I want to make it mono. And so I'm basically getting the guitar focused more on the high frequencies by doing so. And then I can introduce some of the direct signal back. Let me bypass that. So without using EQ or compression, I can get the guitar tone and playing quite tight. I can also use the punch control to really tame those transients and make it even smoother. And actually it feels like it's playing harder when it's more compressed. For for the lead vocal, I'm just going to listen to the unprocessed signal. Just bring up the high frequencies, maybe a little bit mid-range, but I'm going to make it really narrow, so it's going to find that nice mid-range. And I'm going to grab the two markers of the crossover so I can really switch and find the mid-range that I like.
To streets of gold, everyone pray for peace to follow.
It's a little bit too attacky, so I'm just going to bring the punch down. And that really changed the pops.
Everyone pray for peace.
Let's hear it with high attack range.
Of change and sorrow, paving the
way, and let's hear that.
These
like
are
that.
the days of change and sorrow, paving the way.
So that's much more
streets
controlled.
Of gold. Everyone pray for peace to follow. Play the music, let
that's
the
all I need
love
to do on
take
this vocal.
hold. These are the days of change and sorrow.
Give it some focus, maybe a bit of more high mid, so it's more even.
To follow. Play the music,
and I can see what it's doing on the basically crossover ranges energy meter.
Everyone pray for peace to
I can try to crank it up by bringing the input gain up and the output level down.
These are the days of change.
I like that. That has even more attitude. Let's hear it bypassed.
Everyone pray for peace.
So it just brings the vocal closer, gives it more presence and more bite.
These are the days of change and sorrow, paving the way to streets of gold. Everyone pray for peace to follow. Play the music, let the love take hold. These are the days of change and sorrow, paving the way to streets of gold. Everyone pray for peace to follow. Play the music, let the love take hold.
So we saw how the vitamin works on a rock song. It's also great for electronic music, really brings up the punch in all those programmed sounds and samples. It's also really good for a live situation because it's an ultra low latency. So really transparent, really easy to use, very quick and very satisfying.
These are the days of change and sorrow.